You don't think pros are coming? They are confirmed returning. What the hell? Wait, what? I wasn't even on the bullet buddy. Damn. Yo, guys, what is up? Max on a Borderlands 4 video, and today we're going over Rafa build that I didn't really intend on making. Basically, yesterday we made a top 5 best ARs video, and I wanted to put all of the ARs to the test on a neutral build where we were just spec'd into as much gun stuff as we could, because spec'ing into splash damage, for example, would give certain guns an unfair advantage. And what we came up with is a really, really cool Rafa build that is really hard to kill. It does a ton of damage, and it's really good with just any gun that you pair with it. It's kind of like a jack of all trades Rafa, where if you put a gun on this character, you will just have ridiculous amounts of damage. To give you a quick little idea, we are currently getting on this setup 75% crit chance with all of our guns. So you can say goodbye to the crit knife. Anything you're shooting at, you have a 75% chance to crit. We've also got some ridiculous damage buffs, such as El Soldado, which is giving us 150% gun damage from these points. Deadline is giving us 75% fire rate, 125% reload speed. The Thrill's giving us 65% fire rate as well. Las Yaharas is giving us a bunch of ammo regen. We've got a bunch of gun handling, and that's kind of the build. Normally for our Rafa builds, I've been speccing all the way down to Saltado. However, if we're not going splash skills, we don't really care for barrage, and these points are kind of wasted. And we can get a class mod technically with 5 points into Tamario, so you can get a ton of Tamario without that. And then there's really no point in speccing all the way down to Saltado because you'd get the full bonus from just having a class mod into it. And so that is kind of the idea of this build, is you just run around with your action skill active, dealing a ton of damage with tons of fire rate, tons of crit chance, and you just hit really, really hard and can use pretty much any weapon. That is kind of the core idea of the build. So in order to get these kind of buffs, we're going to be using the Dancer class mod. I don't have a great Dancer. It's just basically the one I've used in all my videos. But the Dancer is one of Rafa's strongest class mods. It reads, overdrive bonuses are increased by 100%. Overdrive ends when Rafa's action skill ends. Now, overdrive is Rafa's Vault Hunter trait. While overdrive is active, we deal increased damage, and we also get movement speed. However, there's a lot of things that have overdrive bonuses basically tied to them, which are going to allow us to get a bunch of different buffs while overdrive is active. And with the Dancer class mod, we get Soldado, which gives us a doubled effect of all of our overdrive bonuses. And the Dancer, by default, gives us 100% of our overdrive bonuses. And when we pair that with Hockey, this gives us even more overdrive bonuses. So this build, we're basically speccing into all the overdrive things to allow us to just get so much quality of life. So for our specific skill tree, I personally, gun damage here is great. Fire rate is great, but we have so much fire rate. We have so much gun damage. And Shield Barriest is a overdrive skill. We're going to get 200% shield recharge rate and 200% shield recharge delay. So this is what I went with. It's going to make our shields basically up all the time. And once again, this is a very tanky build. Very, very comfortable to play. We also go to Huerga. This gives our critical hits restore for our action skill, which we want to keep up all the time. Our action skill is or we lose all of our damage while our action skill is gone. For mobbing, we're going to be using Instantito as an augment. This just gives us even more crit chance and action skill restore on kill. So Instantito is going to be really great for upkeeping our overdrive bonuses. And then I personally put points into Resiliencia. This gives us a bunch of damage reduction while overdrive is active. Now, in testing, this value doesn't display that it goes up, but I think it does. I basically went and got fully buffed up and then sat next to enemies on UVH5, and they literally could not kill me with our like shield regen and the amount of damage reduction that we were getting from this. So we could go for like some more damage here and stuff like that, but trust me, like we're doing enough damage. The quality of life on the build to basically just never die with Resiliencia and Shield Barrier is very, very nice. For our blue tree, which is where a lot of our points are going to be going, we're going to Las Yaras for more ammo regen, the Thrill for 65% fire rate. I personally went for El Centro. Now, gun handling is in a bit of a weird state currently. I'm hoping this gets fixed soon. But if you have more gun handling, if you have positive gun handling, especially a lot of it, you actually get slower bullet speed and your projectiles slow down, which feels bad. However, we're going to be using a class mod with points into Tamaria, which is going to decrease our gun handling every second. So this seems to even out. Having like negative gun handling on a build that is primarily trying to be a good gun build feels terrible because your guns feel awful to shoot. So I put points into El Centro. Metal Management doesn't do anything if we go into Bullet Buddy Deluxe. However, for most of the time, besides bossing, we're using Instantito, which just gives us free ammo for 2 seconds after activating our Peacebreaker cannons. So that's why we're here to Metal Management. We're not going to be speccing into this reload speed because, once again, like from this skill, we've got 125. We don't really need the action skill cooldown. Then we get to some of the big buffs for us. Brain Dump gives us 75% crit chance. This is where the build really comes together. 75% crit chance where all of our guns, while our overdrive bonus is active, is nuts. And it basically eliminates having to need like the crit knife. Also, really important to note, if you're using weapons with Jacob's parts, there's a Jacob's roll that is weapons with Jacob's licensed parts have a 20% crit chance. This puts us at 95% crit chance using Jacob's licensed parts. So Jacob's weapons with that enhancement are crazy on this setup. You basically just have like Infinicrit, but on Rafa. El Soldado gives us 150% gun damage. Note that this bonus is doubled while we're charging Apophis Lance. So technically, you could use Apophis Lance to charge and then shoot. The big downside with Apophis Lance is as soon as we're done shooting Apophis Lance, all of our gun damage goes away. And all of our bonuses go away because Dancer makes it so that overdrive doesn't last past our action skill. So technically, you could use Apophis Lance and hold it and shoot really quickly, but then you'd lose all of your damage as soon as it's over. So for bossing, you could do this. However, you could just do Bullet Buddy Deluxe and still just delete things. Hake gives us all of our overdrive bonuses. That's what's stacking up to give us like 75% crit chance. And then I also put points in Deadline for 75% fire rate and the 125 reload speed. Note that we didn't go for my last because, once again, this isn't scaled by overdrive bonuses. And also, we're not really dealing a lot of damage with our action skills. We're a gun build. For the guns for this build, that's the coolest part. You can literally equip anything. Just about any gun will feel good. And all of the guns that I thought felt terrible feel pretty good on this build. Like, we were frying enemies with like the potato thrower, for example. Really just like having tons of crit, tons of fire rate, tons of reload speed on just about any weapon feels really good. Some ones to call out, particularly, I really like the Wombo combo on this build. I also really like the GMR on this build. Both guns that just hit really hard but fire slower. However, when you're firing super fast with them, especially with infinite ammo, they feel really, really good. Like the GMR's whole thing is that it like slows down to shoot. However, you like don't even notice it because you're firing so quickly on this build. For bossing, anything with Toric stickies. I know we're not spec'd into Splash, but we have so many buffs, and all of those Toric stickies will be critting. So anything with Toric stickies feels really, really good. We were mainly using the Ceramic Bod, which can roll with Toric stickies. The Ceramic Bod is a very, very wacky gun with this particular build because, as it was brought to my attention by a chatter, and we tested this ourselves, the Ceramic Bod gets much more value out of gun damage than any other gun. I was getting around, anytime I'd spec, for example, I'd spec into a 15% gun buff, and I would get 15% increase on all of my other guns. The bod, for some reason, I think it has to do with all of its parts, or it counting for multiple weapons, was getting from that same buff about 42% increased damage. So the bod just goes crazy. Toric stickies can stack to do tons of damage, and those get all of your gun damage buffs. So the bod is probably the strongest gun on this setup for bossing if you can roll it with stickies. Even without stickies, it'll still shred, but like with stickies, it's just disgusting. Same thing with like the Chaosin if you want to do that, or any Torg sticky will really help for bossing, especially because we have so much like reduced ammo consumption, we can just fire and launch tons of stickies and stack up that percentage bonus. For our rep kit, we're going to be using the triple bypass. What roll you get on this doesn't really matter. What is very important is that we're rocking a triple bypass. We are not spec'd into any cooldown on this build, mainly because of the fact that we are going to be using now with caffeine. Whenever we use a rep kit, we get cooldown back. We don't really need to heal on this build from our rep kit because of all of the survivability. So whenever your action skill goes down, you just triple rep kit and then you're back into your action skill. For your ordnance, I had the vivisecting knife on. You'll note that in none of the footage do we actually throw this. I just wanted the 3 out of 3 Deadeye bonus for the extra crit stacking. Class mod is the dancer. Ideally, you need, well, for this particular build, you need a point into Saltado. The rest of it doesn't really matter. If you can get 1 Saltado and 5 into Tamario, that's going to be your God Roll class mod, and then 1 point into whatever else. But you really want points into Tamario, and you want points into Saltado. For your shield, I was using the Super Soldier. Our shield's going to be very full on this build. It gives us even more fire rate, even more movement speed. You could also use a Watts for Dinner for extra bonus shock damage. Can't really go wrong with either. And for your enhancement, I personally was mainly rocking the Quintain here with the Jacob's extra crit for that 90% crit chance and extra bounces. Paired with Jacob's weapons is really fun. However, because this build uses so many different enhancements, just getting a general one that you could use for any weapon could be nice. I don't have a great example. But for example, maybe if this COV was gun fire rate, gun crit, and gun reload speed, doesn't really matter the enhancement. You're going to be swapping guns. You can use whatever you want. Could be a nice general thing to use on this setup. For our firmware for the build, we're going to be rocking 3 Deadeye. This is a must-have. Basically, we're going to be critting all the time. More crit damage is fantastic for us. We're also going to be rocking 2 into high caliber. We have a lot of positive gun handling, which at the moment can slow down your projectile velocity. Having high caliber counteracts that, which is great. We're also just going to go ahead and get the 2-piece bonus because of a recent discovery by Starry Knight, who messaged me about this, that high caliber is multiplicative. This 10% is multiplicative gun damage. It is additive with the multiplicative enhancement damage. However, I currently don't have any. So just putting this on was just a straight up 10% increase to my damage, which is huge. So 3-piece Deadeye, 2-piece high caliber. For our specializations, we're rocking Riddle You This for the big stacking gun damage. I like In the Zone for even more gun damage, crit damage. And then we're going Daredevil for Now with Caffeine. This is the most important point of the build. We really need our action skill up as much as possible, and this with the triple bypass will give you that action skill uptime that this build so desperately needs. And then lastly, we've got hundreds of percentages of gun damage on this build, so I put it into I Am a Gun, which gives our action skill damage scaling off of our gun damage, so that not only are we chunking with our guns, but our action skill will be putting in decent work as well. Guys, that is going to do it for the build guide. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what build you'd like to see next, and I'll catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.